Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show today. Now, listen, I recorded the whole show. And right toward the end, I realized that my charts didn't come on. Didn't work properly. And I went into this big, huge ramble, or rant, or whatever, I went in, and it was a good one, and everything. It's getting ready to close the show out. And there's this blooper where I suddenly realized that I didn't get it. Normally, I throw the whole thing away. But I figure, what the heck today? It's too good a rant to throw away. So I'm going to play the entirety of the show right now. You guys have a great rest of the day, and here it is. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here on this Thursday, the 24th of September, 2020. Welcome. Now, here's the thing. The Federal Reserve, the economy out there right now, Main Street has been falling off ever since the start of this year. They're in a deflation. It's deflating. Losing jobs everywhere, businesses closing left and right. You guys have gotten used to that over the last few months because it's been continuing. It's a continuing process. But Wall Street's been pumped up with cheap, easy money, and they've been inflating. Well, right now, starting this Monday, and I pretty much called it right on the money. I called it Black Monday, even though nobody else did. Wall Street started to deflate too, along with Main Street. Now, this is a very dangerous game that the central banks are playing by letting Wall Street and Main Street both deflate simultaneously. What's called for is more stimulus measures, and there's no stimulus deal in sight right now, to my knowledge. Well, they got a deal they're working on. They can't make a decision what package they want, whether they want 1.1 trillion or 2.2 trillion or whatever. But there's no real deal that's signed and delivered in sight right now, The deliberating is what they're doing. It's a dangerous game, and I'll tell you what I akin it to. What I think it's like is if three teenage boys were going to film a YouTube video, and they went into a house and they set up a camera, and what they were going to do is light the house on fire, but they all had fire extinguishers. And they said, okay, we let it burn for 30 seconds, and then we'll rush in and put the fire out, and we'll get the video. That's the plan. What could go wrong? This is the plan that these central banks have right now. They're letting the economy cool a little bit, letting it deflate a little bit, and their plan is if anything gets out of control, they're going to rush in, basically like the teenagers rush in with the fire extinguishers. They're going to rush in with the money bombers if it starts to get out of control. You can see what I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is a sudden deflation to the system that could come so quickly and so profoundly if anything went wrong, that the house could burn down, basically. The system could basically lock up, and this is what concerns me, and the whole financial system locking it up, and basically the whole thing, basically like a margin call. I mean, it's just like the whole thing just basically melts because it's so over leveraged. What they've created is a big pile of nothing. It's taken them 100 years, and they've made this pile bigger and bigger and bigger, but it's a big pile of nothing. It's like the deflation is a leaf blower, and this is a big giant pile of leaves. That's all they got. There's nothing solid there. The only thing solid there is your gold and your silver underneath the foundation of the financial system. But all the rest is just like, there's no real substance. Anyway, let's open up the charts right here and take a look at what's going on with these markets today. We're looking at gold and silver. Gold is up $6 today. But, we've seen an incredibly big smash to gold and silver over the past week or so, you know, and it's been rough, you know. It's knocked gold back down to 1869. It's up $6.10, but this is all part of the deflating system right now. And it hasn't deflated enough where investors have panicked or anything to panic buy into gold or silver, because they're anticipating this next surge of the stimulus measures to come in at some point, you know. And this is one of the reasons that's holding the market where it is they're anticipating this stimulus. They're waiting for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's coming. They know it's coming. And I think it's coming too, but this is a very dangerous game, and the more leverage the system gets in it, each time they do one of these stimulus packages, it's adding more leverage to the system, more weight. It's like, you know, it's like they're adding another big ton of weight to the system that when it snaps faster and with more energy every time, the more levered the system gets. You know, they just levered the system earlier this year with 2.2 trillion, was it, in March? Now they're going to do it again. Each time they lever the system up with more and more fake money, and that's what it is. The system becomes more unstable. So here we go. We got the only stability to the system that just took a knockout punch in the last day or two. Gold and silver took a knockout punch. We're at 1870 for gold. Let's take a look at silver today. We're looking at $22.70 for silver, and it's down 5 cents. But it's creeping back. Gold and silver's creeping back. Let's take a look at cryptocurrency today. 332 billion. 58.3% Bitcoin dominance. Looking at a Bitcoin price of $10,477. And so Bitcoin is holding still above the $10,000 mark. Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency didn't take as big a smash as gold and silver did, but they did come down some, but not as much. Gold and silver took a much bigger hit. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones today. And, you know, the Dow is up 88 points right now, but today there's an extreme volatility in the Dow Jones today. It's up and it's down below. It'll be down 80 points, and then it's up 80 points, and then it's been hovering around that zero line, you know, neither up nor down today. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if later in the day it comes back down into the negative again, you know. But there's a lot of volatility in the Dow right now at this moment. But the downside risk to this is incredible to the markets right now, because there's no stimulus packages, and this market has all been pumped up on stimulus. And so it wants to fall, but it's staying up on hopes of more stimulus. The market is completely controlled by the Fed at this point. It's all got to do with whether they get more money, more quantitative easing, and more stimulus packages and everything else. It's the only thing holding it up. They've lost all sight of fundamentals a long time ago. That's way down there, you know. The market could fall so far that it could lock up the system. Once the system gets locked up, then the next thing is chaos can come to America. And what I mean by that is we're seeing a little taste of chaos right now. Just a little taste of it in a few cities. Once chaos spreads too far, say the market's locked up, the financial system locked up, all the companies couldn't make payroll, they have to send their employees home, you know, because the banks all lock up. The banks all go back. Everything just goes bankrupt at once. How do you get that system back up and running again before the chaos comes out, spills out onto the streets everywhere? And once that happens, you know, once they start trashing everything, they trash the grocery stores and and it gets widespread. And once it gets too widespread, it's almost in every city, you know, fires and everything, you know. Then at what point can you get everything back in order again? Who's able to do that? I mean, if the power lines are knocked over and the power's out, power grid's down, and and everybody's fires everywhere, and there's just, well, they say, well, okay, call out the military. Well, they did that during Hurricane Katrina. They called out the military. And that was just in one area of one little area, about the size of maybe a quarter of one state. If you're talking about the area of a state, it was about maybe a quarter or half the size of a state. Down there in Louisiana, they called out all the military to go in there, and it took weeks to restore order. Now that's just in one little area. What if it was the whole of the continental United States, everywhere? Can the military cover it? Every little community, every little hamlet, every little big city, and everything. I'll tell you, if real craziness were to break out, honest to gosh, I mean, just nutty craziness, I don't even think they would have trouble even handling one big city. To just cover all the jurisdictions and districts just in one big metro area. I think it would take most of their resources. And what if it was every city in the United States? Even the smaller cities? What are they going to do? How are they going to cover all that? And it just becomes an impossible task in the end. They have to throw their hands up in the air and say, well, we can't cover it. It's just too much. Have to let it burn itself out. Anyway, okay, Dow's up 120 points right now. That's why I say they're playing a dangerous game, because the system's stability relies upon telecommunications. Okay, if the president wants to give an order, he comes out as an emergency, big emergency, He relies upon telecommunications to get that message across to everybody out there. Well, what if all the telecommunications grid is down because people have went crazy? And, to what extent can they go crazy? I mean, you have no idea if this gets totally out of control, It can cause more than just an emergency. It can bring everything down to its knees to where there's no services, there's no... It could just go out of control, and then at that point you'd have to let it burn itself out, and then try to bring organization and structure back slowly, working to bring it back, and it might take, I don't know, gosh only knows, months if something like that were to happen. And yes, I believe we're actually vulnerable to a situation like that. And I think that there's only several things that could cause a situation like that. And one of the things I think that could cause a situation like that is a total lockup of the financial system. The second thing that could cause a situation like that is maybe a nuclear war. Third thing that could cause a situation like that is maybe some sort of very extremely contagious, extremely bad virus. Or an EMP attack. Or maybe a meteor from space, or maybe if a super volcano blew off, these things could cause a situation like that. But remember I said one of the things that can cause a situation like that is a total meltdown of the financial system. And having the financial system lock up, because everything runs on money. And the people out there, they feel that they're entitled. And when somebody expects something and you don't give what's expected, then that person feels cheated. Doesn't matter, I mean, okay, you could have a person out there and they don't expect something, and you could walk up and you could say, we're going to give you a brand new Rolls Royce car, or $1 million. We're going to give you $1 million, right? And you let them go home, and all night long they're dreaming of this million they're going to get the next day. And then you come in with the television cameras, and he says, where's my million? He's all excited. Well, the day before he never expected $1 million, but now he expects $1 million, So they come up and they say, well, sorry, we made a mistake. You're actually only going to get $100. The guy get mad. He get mad because he was expecting $1 million. And so that's expectations. Now, Americans have and Canadians and everybody in the Western world, Western Hemisphere, they have big expectations. They expect their government to take care of them. They expect the food stores to be full of food. They expect their bank accounts to have money in it. They expect a job. They expect this. You take all those expectations away, and what comes? Anger. Unbelievable anger. Anger like you've never witnessed before amongst the general population when you take everything away from them. Because they've had it all this time. That's their expectations. If you were to have a person that was living in a very poor country and never had anything, and you offer them, and they're living on $2 a day, and you offer them $5 a day, well then they're happy. Because they had low expectations, and now it's exceeded their expectations. But with people that live over here, we have huge expectations. And suddenly, we've got the carpet pulled out from underneath us. You know? What comes next? Anger. That's what comes next. And that anger could tear everything apart and make our expectations even worse and make us more angry, because now we're hungry. Now we're sitting on the curb. Now we haven't even got a bed to sleep in. And the city's burning, and there's no telecommunications anymore, and there's no gas, and there's no, I could go on and on with there's no medicine, and you know? And that just creates even more anger. Like feeling like, why is this happening? Who did it? And they're, at that point, then what would happen is they would want to find somebody that they could hold responsible for having caused it. Somebody or some entity or something, So this is what the way this system could degrade into a point where you don't even have services. Nothing. You're sitting there and you don't even know what's going on. You don't even know what's happened. You can't get any telecommunications if your phone doesn't work. Your internet doesn't work. Your internet's down and everything. How are you even going to find out what happened? You're sitting there and the power's just went out and you don't even know what's going on. What caused it or anything. Now maybe over in China, nothing. The birds are tweeting in the trees, Everything's fine. Because they're on a different financial system. They've saw this ahead of time, and they've said to themselves, by gosh, we're going to unhook ourselves from that sinking ship. And the West is the sinking ship. It's just that we can't see it. I mean, why I say that is because they're just going to keep playing this game of pumping it up with more fresh, new, easy money, and then having it fall again, and then pumping it up even higher until they get it more and more and more leveraged. And in the end, it has to crack, ultimately, That's the end result. It has to crack. And they know that. I mean, that's just... And so they've separated themselves. Now, China and Russia and these countries, even Iran, has separated themselves from the Western financial system. So when it goes down, the people that are going to be really affected by this, people that are going to be sitting in the dark in a shift or whatever, are going to be the people of the West. And there's going to be a lot of countries, and what I think is really going to make the difference, whether you're in that crisis or you're out of it, and you're someplace where everything's peaceful and everything, they still got telecommunications and they still got electricity and everything else. But what's going to make the difference is how connected is your country's currency to the dollar and the impact of the dollar when the dollar goes down. The euro is very, very connected. And so all the countries that don't have their own currency and they rely upon the euro, they're in big trouble. Now, if you got a country in Europe and they still have their old currency, it's a little bit better situation, They can switch over to that currency. Now, here in Canada, our Canadian dollar is connected to the United States dollar, so we're going to have turmoil. But we do have a dollar that's distinct and separate. So the country possibly might stay running a little bit when the system goes down. The same way in Great Britain. They've got the British pound. This depends on how quick they can decouple from what's going down, what's going to sink. And what's going to sink is going to send monstrous waves through the entire world. But what countries are going to be, where are you going to be where you're going to be sitting in the dark around the table and with no telecommunications or anything else because it's locked up, basically frozen? And what kind of a situation is that? And who caused it? It's these trained chips we got working and to run the system. That's who's causing it all, and they're threatening not only our lives, but they're threatening their own lives. Because if everything goes down, I mean, what are they going to do? Run to Russia? Oh, please save us, cook us some beans. You know, we're hungry. I mean, are they going to head into their underground? You know, I mean, the whole thing is like, this whole thing is just a powder keg waiting to go off. And, okay, I got into a little bit of a rant this morning here on this. I didn't mean for that to happen, but this is a dangerous situation, this business of them over-leveraging the financial system just to make gains and profits, ultimately. And, you know, they want to keep the craziness going because they're making such great profits right now. But don't they realize that it could get out of control? It's the same way, like I said, you got 3 young guys going to film them lighting their house on fire for a YouTube video, and they plan on putting it out before it gets too big. But, I mean, that's the nature of fires, is to grow if there's fuel. And that's the nature of a deflation. A deflation grows like a fire in reverse. And right now, honest to gosh, with the way they have actually built this financial system up with all this leverage, is fuel for a deflation. And we're on the edge of it right now. Right now, starting Monday of this week, the system, Wall Street's been starting to deflate a little bit. There's only one direction for them to keep this. They got to keep this all moving upwards and keep inflating everything. But ultimately, it's going to lead in the end to a deflation. You just can't keep going with it when it's gone exponential unless you go into a hyperinflation. That's the only solution, the way I see it, ultimately, is to take it into a hyperinflation and then end it with some sort of a reset. That's the only way out of it without risking everything, you know, because that way they get to pay off the debt with worthless dollars. And they get to keep everything running with those worthless dollars right up until the very end to where they can reset it, you know. But, okay, let's move on. The crude oil, it's down 4 cents today. Bonds and rates, we're looking at, well, I tell you what I was going to do for bonds and rates is, because basically unchanged and it's not moving much, we're going to put in our picture. Where's our picture? I just put it in there. Whoop. Why does it keep doing that? There. Wait.